Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Today I wanted to do a part 2 of one of the videos that I previously made, which talked about the different phases of our homeschool and how we had about 4 different phases. One was the tot schooling journey, and then we had our primary education, which went up until the 4th grade, and then we did something called prep school, which was the 5th grade through the 8th grade, and then we went into college prep, which is your high school 9th through 12th grade. What I did not talk about in that video that I want to talk about today is the transition periods between the prep school, which is 5th grade and the 8th grade, and college prep, which is high school. I have 2 transition periods, or we have 2 transition periods. The first transition period takes you from primary to prep school. And prep school, many of you may call middle school. But in the 5th grade, that's where he starts that different phase, okay? And what we do in the 5th grade, we kind of get him, we kind of ensure that he is ready to go into the journey of what a traditional middle schooler may have to encounter when it comes to course load and independence. So in the 5th grade, right now, my son is in the 5th grade, his transition includes things such as maintaining an agenda, looking through the agenda on a daily basis to ensure he completes his assignments, writing his assignments and keeping track of them and checking it off within that agenda, and also writing down the due dates that I provide, and also looking at his homeschool calendar to determine if that's the best due date or if he needs to change that due date or recommend that I change that due date to another time period based on the workload that he currently has. He's also learning how to keep himself organized and how to manage his workload. In addition to that, he's also transitioning into a more independent homeschooling journey where he has independent days. And the independent days are basically the time period that he completes all his assignments. So I teach on a certain number of days, the various homeschool subjects, right? I assign him work. And then on his independent days, he's required to use his notes, use his resources, use his information to complete the assignments by the due date. On his independent days, he does other types of assignments as well, but you can check out one of my other videos to kind of figure out what those days look like. I have a few videos on those topics, and if I remember, I'll go ahead and link them in the description box below. I'll also link in the description box the video that I'm referring to when I kind of explain the 4 phases of our homeschooling. So again, in the 5th grade, we're not maintaining grades for the purpose of tracking them, okay? I'm not assigning him a letter grade or a score based on the number of problems he had wrong on any particular assignment, nor do I provide him any tests or quizzes in the traditional sense, again, for the purpose of assigning him a grade or tracking those grades. We do lots of reviews. The reviews that we do can be considered a test or a quiz. I mean, you can consider it that. However, if he gets something wrong, he gets another opportunity to complete or redo those assignments. And if he continues to get it wrong the second time, then that's when we go over it, we walk through it, and we kind of help him understand why he got the problem wrong during our instruction days. So that's what the 5th grade transition looks like, okay? It's more independence. It's more of managing your own workload. It's also being able to communicate with me in various methods. During our instructional days, we do a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of conversation that goes on. It's a lot of hands-on work or activities that takes place. However, if I assign him an assignment during an instruction day, and let's say I forget something or I want to send him a reminder, we will do chat. So I will chat him information, or I will chat him via Hangouts those assignments, or I may upload information on Google Docs. He has a Google Doc folder where we maintain all of his work. He may have to complete an assignment and turn it in via Google Docs. You can also use something called Dropbox for that. In addition, I may pre-record some of my lessons and upload it to Evernote. And that way, instead of me instructing on a particular topic on our instruction day or particular subject, he will have to go to Evernote, watch that pre-recorded lesson, and then complete the assignment based on what he's learning in the video. Okay, so again, that's how we transition him into a little bit more independence and organization and work management in the 5th grade. Now, the next transition period begins in the 7th grade going into the 8th grade. And let me explain why we do another transition during that period. In the 7th grade, that's when students can normally start earning high school credits, okay? So because students can start earning high school credits, for me, that means that we need to start doing the tracking and the grading and a little bit more formal processes within our homeschool so that he can actually get those credits and those credits be approved by a college or be accepted by a college. And also, if we decide that he needs to transition to public or private school for whatever reason, life changes, then he has the proper documentation required so that the high school can accept his credits. So what we first talked about was if he can start earning high school credits in the 7th grade, what are those credits? Normally across the board, although every state is different, please check your own state requirements or your own school district requirements. But normally when it comes to a college, they normally like to see on a transcript, they like to see 3 years, 4 years of English. That can be literature, composition, but it's 4 years of English, 3 years of science. And the science normally has to include biology, physics, and chemistry. Okay, at least 3 years of those. You can go beyond that, but they want to see those 3 things. In addition, for math, they want to see at least 3 years of math. And normally they want to see Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 as a minimum. But of course, you can go beyond that if you like. Also, when it comes to social studies, my phone is ringing. Also, when it comes to social studies, they want to see 3 years of social studies, which includes things like your geography, your world history, your U.S. history, and things of that nature. And then they want to see 2 years of electives. And electives normally include 2 years of the same foreign language or, art, music, and things of that nature. In addition to those, they want to also see some type of community service, okay? And the hours just depend. But since those are the things that a normal college, not normal, but a traditional college likes to see from a high school student, then we say within the 7th grade, since he can start earning some of those high school credits, let's do a transition period then to where we can make the determination at that time whether or not he is confident enough or capable of attempting some of those courses, okay? So with that said, in the 7th grade, either in the beginning or the end, I'm not sure how we're going to work it out. We'll figure it out when my son gets there, for he will be the first homeschooled student within our household, so he is like the guinea pig here, okay? So in the 7th grade, the transition will include giving grades, okay, for the purpose of tracking. At that time, that's when we will assign letter grades or scores to actual tests and quizzes that we will actually give to him so that he can get a feel for that type of stuff. In addition, we want him to be comfortable with taking exams or taking tests. So that's why we're going to incorporate timed quizzes or timed tests within our homeschool at that time, assign a letter grade or a score, and then keep track of that. We're also going to start keeping course descriptions. One other thing that the high school counselor mentioned to me is that in order for them to accept a high school credit from a student who's in middle school, we must not only maintain grades, but we also must have a course description, the course name, the description, examples of quizzes and tests with scores, and they prefer that those courses be taken with a, what's the word they used? With a accredited institution. So your BJU Press, your Abeka, your Art of Problem Solving for Math. There are a lot of other brands out there that has online homeschool courses that track, that grade, that track, and that gives you the transcript for that particular course. And they'll accept that if you have those things in place. So seventh grade is where we're going to start doing that aspect. And then we're going to start giving him a little bit more responsibility in the course management, the tracking of his own work, tracking of his own hours for particular subjects. The subjects that we're probably going to focus on within the seventh grade, eighth grade transition period are the subjects that we feel as though he can hopefully earn high school credit for, which are your sciences, which is your math, and it may even be social studies or a foreign language, okay? So those are the two transitionary periods. One is in the fifth grade, which we're currently doing now, which focuses on responsibility, more responsibility, independent work, and also keeping himself organized and getting a feel for different methods of communication when it comes to receiving assignments and turning in assignments. In the seventh grade, our transition will then focus on determining whether or not he can earn, or if he wants to earn, high school credit. You know, having a course description, giving him a syllabus, helping him read the syllabus, make sure he understands what a syllabus is, how to utilize a syllabus, how to keep track with his work, with what's on the syllabus, assigning work, and then having that work become due within a longer period of time. Right now in the fifth grade, the longest period of time that an assignment will be due is maybe within a week of it being assigned. But during the secondary transition, seventh or eighth grade, we may give him an assignment and it's not going to be due to a month later. Okay, so that's giving him a little bit more responsibility, ensuring he understands the scoring system. How does he get a 90%? Do we have a minimum requirement if we're going to start assigning and tracking grades? Every subject is going to have an expectation. You know, our expectation is for you to have this score at the end of the year. What does a report card look like? How are we going to assign grades on the report card? What is a GPA? How is the GPA calculated? What is high school credit? How are you going to learn that how are you going to earn that high school credit? We'll also incorporate student parent meetings within the seventh, eighth grade transition. And what that basically means is having a sit down with us and talking about your progress. We do that now within fifth grade through a progress report, but it's going to be a little bit more detailed when it comes to that secondary transition. And again, the reason why we're doing these transitions is just to get the children acclimated to what the expectations will be. The expectation in our household is as you get older, as you move up in your grades, you will have more responsibilities. The expectation may be a little bit more for yourself, and from us for you. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, that's how we want to kind of transition in. Something else I also forgot to mention, guys, is during the fifth grade transition right now, what we're doing. During the transition right now, what we're doing, I can see you. Okay, so right now we've also incorporated in our transition during the fifth grade is him kind of having a better understanding of note-taking skills and study skills. We actually went in detail and talked about what are good study habits, what are good study skills. We came up with a process, which is like, what was the process again? First, you have to preview, review, study, assess. I forget the steps we talked about, but we did talk about the study cycle. There is actually a method out there that teaches students how to properly study. And I will honestly say during high school and during college, I used a lot of these processes. However, I never knew they had names to them. So we talked about how to properly study, and then we came up with a game plan. How are we going to incorporate that within homeschool? What does this mean to you? So within his game plan, he basically said, okay, a good study plan for me, I'm going to ensure that before I start my homeschool week, I'm going to look at the board and I'm going to determine what are we going to learn throughout the week. And that's what I do first of all. In the beginning of the week on Sundays after we finish homeschooling, I go to the board and I write out on my instruction days, which are Wednesdays, Fridays, sometimes, and Saturdays and Sundays. I write on the board what the topics are going to be for every subject. So he will review that. His game plan said, I'm going to review the board to kind of see what I can expect to learn throughout the week. I'm going to utilize my notebooking resources and lap booking resources to kind of preview the information that I already have on hand. I'm going to create a study session every Wednesday from this time to this time. He had a 1 hour block where he said on Wednesdays from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. I'm going to utilize that as my study time, where I'm going to study in 15-minute increments. I'm going to study for 15 minutes, take a break, 15 minutes, take a break, and my last 15 minutes and take a break. And based on what he's going to learn throughout the week, which is what he saw on the board, he's going to study for those particular topics, the topics that he finds difficulty with, or the topics that he just wants to go over in efforts to be prepared on the next instruction day. Okay. And then he's going to assess his knowledge by ensuring that he understands it, by asking himself, can I teach this to someone else? Do I truly understand it? Can I put this lesson in my own words so that it makes complete sense? And within the studying process, if he has to do additional examples to ensure that he does understand it, or if he has to use mnemonic devices in order to help him remember things, he's going to go ahead and do that. So we created an action plan for studying. And then we're going to talk about, or we talked about note taking, how to properly take notes, the different methods of taking notes so that he can utilize the best approach for him in order to take accurate and concise notes. Okay. So that's all in the 5th grade transition. And again, it's just getting him ready for the higher expectations that we're going to have for him when he gets in the middle school years, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and beyond. And again, when he gets to that 7th grade time period, or when he gets in the 7th grade, he's going to have all that stuff in his back pocket. He's going to have all those tools in his back pocket because he's been practicing them and he's been implementing them from 5th and 6th grade in the 7th grade. So now when we hit the 7th grade, right, or the middle or the end of 7th grade, then we can focus on the next transition, which gets him to become almost completely independent and being able to do, in effort to allow him to become effective and efficient during the high school years and beyond. So I hope this video makes sense. I know I was all over the place at some points, but I just wanted to pop back on and talk to you about the 2 transitional times that we have in our homeschool in order to prepare our children to move from 4th grade to 5th grade, and then to move from 7th grade to 8th grade, or 8th grade to 9th grade, depending on how things work itself out. But if you have any questions, leave them in the description box below. And as always, be blessed and make it a great day. Thanks, guys. Bye.